Good day. And here we have yet another video from General Lotz's vault. This vault in question being Blip, a website nobody goes to see because, well, YouTube is just far superior. This is a video that was originally released on YouTube in 2009, I believe. It's the very third episode, and it was the first real attempt at trying to use humor, not humor, but humor, as in a rather ill-advised attempt at, well, being funny. And it kind of fails on quite a few levels, but I think it will be amusing to just look back and see just how far I've come as a internet reviewer. This is one where I actually put in a lot of time and effort in trying to actually add jokes and things of that nature. Hell, I even tried to change my voice to sound gruff and tough, and it did not turn out too well. At least I don't think it did. Also, I don't know how long this will be up because it's probably going to be hit with about 8,000 different copyright strikes because I like to use a lot of copyrighted material in my early videos, which is not really a good idea, but I'm going to see if I can at least put it up there with, like, you know, no monetization or ads or anything of that nature. Let's see, the ending bit that's going to be seen, as shitty and as crappy as it was something I spent, oh my god, I think at least 3 hours setting up, thinking it was going to look great, when in fact it didn't. But anyway, enjoy as much as you can.
Good day. I am Wolfgang, the Techno-Barbarian, filling in for His Most Imperious Lord, General Lotz. And today, I'm going to be taking a look at the arcade sequel to one of the most exemplary hack-and-slash games ever made. Today, we are going to delve into the world of myth and majesty that is Golden Axe, The Revenge of Death Adder. Now, this game was released in 1992 by Sega and utilized the System 32 system board, thus giving us the experience of playing Golden Axe with 32-bit graphics. Now, let's take a closer look at this game.
The game starts up with a fire effect and some random disembodied heads floating by. I can only assume these are character portraits, but not knowing the characters is sort of pointless. Afterwards, we get to see the Death Adder himself, resplendent with his pointy helm and lion shield. The only thing missing is his chest plate.
Take it from me, the last thing you want is a chest plate. Sure, it might soak up the blows of your enemies, but you can't show off your ripped physique.
The intro ends similarly to the intro from the first Golden Axe, although this one is far more polished than the first, and it forewent the cheap-looking flashing letters. You get to select from 4 mighty warriors: the steadfast Stern, the crafty Trix, the amalgamated Goa, and the Centaurus Dora. The first thing that will strike you about this game are the absolutely beautiful graphics. The player characters and NPCs are all animated superbly, and graphically this game is just head and shoulders above Golden Axe 1. Gameplay is standard side-scrolling hack-and-slash fare, although there are some vertical scrolling stages here and there. I personally find it to be somewhat annoying as they make hitting your mark considerably difficult. The magic aspect has also been slightly altered to where you have to have a specific number of magic containers in order to perform a magic attack. However, there has been a graphical improvement to the magic's execution.
In this one, you get to see your weak-willed foes turn to dust before your mighty onslaught.
The cast of characters is somewhat eclectic. You of course have your stereotypical barbarian character with a large sword and ferocious fighting ability. His sword abilities, however, leave something to be desired.
Ugh, this barbarian uses his sword as a bludgeon and simply smashes his foes with it, instead of using it as a finely tuned instrument of death.
Mr. Steinbrenner also has a fairly decent hand-to-hand attack as well, and his magic attacks are rather enjoyable. The female character in this game is a Centaurus. This of course gives her the ability to trample her foes with her powerful hooves. Unfortunately, she is armed with only a bugle stick, which is rather idiotic seeing as how she is going into combat against enemies armed with swords. Her magic attack is a lightning assault, which is kind of cool, but it is nowhere near as awesome as Steinbrenner's fire attack. The diminutive character in this game is named Trix.
I guess in this case, Trix was a kid.
He is armed with a trident, which works rather well, and he also apparently knows judo. However, his one major flaw is his lack of a true magic attack.
When he said, "How about them apples?" he didn't mean it like that.
This is a really weak power. True, it does give you more health, but most of the time you need magic to clear out the screen of enemies, and not an afternoon snack. The final character is an amalgamation of the dwarf from Golden Axe 1 and some large guy named Goa. I guess that dwarf decided to follow the infantryman's axiom of riding instead of walking. Goa is armed with a large axe and really does even up the odds when dealing with a large amount of enemies. His magic attack is about as theatrical as Steinbrenner's.
Death by halitosis. Definitely a bad way to go.
The one thing that characterizes gameplay is the large number of enemies. Just look at all of these people. Good God, I cannot hold. Wait, on the horizon, it's the fire shark. Hold on, Mr. Steinbrenner. I'll show these rapscallions what for. Just in the nick of time. But what will you do now? Continue my quest to return to my own time. Oh boy. Seeing as how you're going to be dying quite a bit in this game, the developers chose to use some creativity. When you die, your body turns into a blue tombstone with your face on it. When you continue the game after you die, the tombstone explodes and damages any enemy in the immediate area.
I guess this is the case where someone really did fight back from the grave.
Level progression is somewhat less linear than you would expect. You will sometimes get a choice to take an alternate path, although you will still end up going down a number of these paths later in the game as they themselves become part of a level. The music in this game starts off fairly well, with a pretty good opening song that really inspires one to get to killing. Unfortunately, all of the tracks end up getting repeated constantly, and it really gets rather redundant after a while. Sound design is another problem. Many of the sounds are reused over and over. For example, Death Adder's death scream is exactly the same as a villager's tortured scream.
I guess the mighty Death Adder was just another girly man after all.
Vehicles make their return in the guise of bugs.
Bugs? Why did it have to be bugs?
You get two types of praying mantises. You get one that simply melees enemies, and you get another that shoots fireballs. You also have a number of scorpions that you can control as well. Not those scorpions. I mean these horribly mutated electric scorpions. Yes, these beasts are actually able to harness the mightiest power of all, electricity. You also get to use a skeleton dragon, which considering the first two is considerably more appropriate in this high fantasy setting. In addition to your mighty steeds, you also get access to real killing machines. You get to control catapults and two types of ballistas. All of these weapons decay after a time due to what is no doubt shoddy workmanship.
The barbarians, what more can you really expect?
Now let's take a look at this army of girly men that you must vanquish. Your first foes are typical cloned infantrymen. They are generally easy to slaughter, unless they are in large numbers, which of course they usually are. You will then have to face a number of masked tribesmen. They're not much more difficult to kill than the standard infantrymen. You will also have to fight a number of skeletons, and like in the first game, they are extremely difficult to kill. And if you are caught between two of the things, you are as good as dead. In addition to all of these other foes, you will also have to face a number of mutated ambulatory trees. They are not much more difficult than the standard infantrymen either.
I guess there really was unrest in the forest after all.
Another enemy that of course is not ambulatory but still dangerous are the instant death pits. They're somewhat difficult to leap over as the jumping controls are a bit loose. The first boss that you encounter is some weird Amazon woman gorging herself on food. She goes down fairly easy as her attacks are limited to simple melee moves. As with most of the bosses in this game, you will encounter her all throughout the rest of the game. The next boss is this large fellow that looks like a stereotypical circus strongman. He is often paired with his cloned brother. They are somewhat difficult to fight as they are armed with a large mace. You will also have to face this one-eyed goblin creature. He has a fairly powerful melee attack, and he's armed with a electric mace. Later on, you get to face the Green Knight.
None shall pass.
No, the Green Knight. He is armed with a long pole arm, and will provide quite a bit of a challenge.
Just a flesh wound.
After you face all of those trials, you finally get to face the Grim Reaper. And of course you have every reason to fear him, because not only is he armed with a large scythe, he is also able to call forth mutant trees and skeletons. He is a very difficult boss to fight, as he usually gets a large number of minions to wear you down first. Just like the Green Knight, but more so. Magic is a must if you want to actually defeat him. Also, as you can see, he's wearing a yellow cloak. It would appear that he has finally updated his fashion a bit.
You see, now with barbarians, black is the new brown, and green headbands have replaced those golden gaudy ones.
And one other foe you get to face is the Kraken.
Hello, beastie.
Now this one might not be quite as detailed as that one, but it is still an annoying enemy to face. It really just magnifies the standard pitfall by tenfold. The final battle is of course a showdown against Death Adder. He is armed with a large axe and a very ungainly looking shield. At first you cannot use magic attacks because the shield will just eat them, but after you get the shield away from him, he is surprisingly easy to defeat. Once he is vanquished, you ride off on your dragon only to find that not only did the Death Adder survive, but he also managed to grab a Starman as well. You defeat him yet again, only to be subjected to some of the worst dialogue imaginable. Eat this, guys? I mean, really, that does not sound threatening in the slightest. The way it is written, it seems more like he is just saying, "Eat this, guys. You think you're so good, but I'm still going to win." Then, to make matters worse, we get English. You never make it. I mean, really, there is so little text in this game that this is inexcusable. How did someone miss such a glaring error out of so little text? Thankfully, it flashes by fairly fast, so you will not have that much time to read it. Thankfully, the conclusion more than makes up for its heredity. The Death Adder is killed when the dwarf from Golden Axe 1 plunges an axe into his head. And the game concludes with our intrepid heroes riding off into the sunset.
Revenge of Death Adder is a great sequel. The graphics are good and the gameplay is solid, but it does suffer from repetitive sounds and a considerable length. Gameplay ran me over an hour, which would have made it all but impossible to beat in the arcades. And playing it on MAME is not that much easier either, as some of the save states will not work. You'll get a layering issue which will obscure the screen. But overall, Golden Axe: The Revenge of Death Adder is a great game. For next time, the illustrious General is going to be taking a look at Turok, the Dinosaur Hunter. But as for me, I've got to get back to killing.